Hi guys, Miss Mathews. We are doing lesson 27, session 3. I can use line plots to show data. Okay, this is what we're all doing. So use fraction tiles to find the value of each expression. I know you guys know how to do that mathematically without using fraction tiles. But if we did use fraction tiles, 2, right, and we're going to multiply it by 1 1/4, so we'll get, if we were to do this, 4 1s are 4, and 5 over 4, 5 2s are 10 over 4, and that is 2, 4 2s are 8, 2 remainder, 2, and which is 2 1/2. Okay, so 2 by 1 is 2, right? So 2 multiplied by 1, you'll still get 2. And then 2 multiplied by 1/4, right, is going to give me 1/2. And that's where I'm going to get 1/2. Okay, let's do this one. 2 1/2 minus 1 3/4. So I have 2 and 1/2, right? So this is 2 and 1/2, and I'm gonna minus 1. So let's take away this one, right? Boom, 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 he's gone, minus 1. And then I'm gonna minus 3/4 of this guy, right? So I'm gonna have to do this like this, and then minus 3/4. So I'm left with 1/4 and 1/2. So 1/4 and 1/2 is going to give me 3/4. All right, that's how we use it, fraction tiles, to do that one. All right, let's look at this. The line plot shows lengths of songs in minutes on Ron's playlist. Ron adds 2 new songs to his playlist, so his new playlist is now 34 minutes in length. What are the 2 possible lengths for the new songs? What is the problem about songs? What are we trying to find out, right? We're trying to find out what are the 2 possible lengths for the new songs. So the last lesson we were plotting data that we had on the line plot, and what we're doing now is that we're using the line plot to come up with the data, right? And what information is important. So he adds 2 new songs to his playlist. His new playlist is now 34 minutes in length. So let's see, what are the 2 possible lengths for the new songs? Okay, so we need to add all of these minutes up. Okay, so we need to add between 2 to 3. We have 1 2 3 4. So we know this is it's in minutes, 1/4 of a minute, right? 2/4 of a minute, which is half, and 3/4 of a minute, etc. So that's 3 1/4, 3/4, 4 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So let's see. So this song is now 2 1/2. This one is 2 3/4. This one is 3 3. So these are all of his songs. And then we have 3 3/4 is this one. Then we have 2 songs that are 4 minutes long. Great. And then we have 1 song that is 4 2/4, or we can tune it to 1 tune it first, 2 4 1/2. So how many songs do we have? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 songs. Okay, did we even get to here yet? Okay, take a minute and see if you can get to there, and then we are going to solve this. All right, guys, so remember all of this, the data. So what we need to do, we need to add all of these to see how many minutes in total his original playlist was. So we can easily add this by a number of different ways. You choose, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to add all my whole numbers because it makes it easy for me. So when I add 2 plus 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, I'll get 25. When I add all my fractions, so I'm going to add a half, I'm going to add 3/4 plus another 3/4 plus another half, right? I'm going to get 10 over 4, which is 2.5, right? And you see how I can get that, because a half plus a half is 1, and 3/4 plus 3/4 is 1.5. So 1.5 plus 1 is 2.5. So my total time for this current playlist is 27.5 minutes, right? But his new playlist is 34 minutes. So how do we know how long, what are the possible lengths for the two songs? So we need to subtract his new playlist, which is 34 minutes minus 27.5 minutes, and then we'll get 6.5 minutes. So we know that he can have two songs, possibly 3 and 3.5 minutes long, or one could be 3/4 and 3.25, and the other one could be 3.25, or it could be 3 and then the other one could be 3.5, right? Okay, let's move on to the next question. Oh, so you can use a picture to help you understand the data in the problem. Okay, so this is what they've done, right? Comparing class strategies. This is exactly the example that we had up here before, just looking at different ones doing it. You can use equations to help you understand the problem. So let's say, write an equation to find M. M is the length in minutes of Ron's original playlist, which is what I did right here. So this is my M, right? 2.5 plus all of these. So I added all of these, right? I found the sum of the data set, which is what I did right here, which is what they're doing. Write an equation to show how to find the total number of minutes that the new songs add to the length. So new songs, T equals 34 minus M. We know that M is equal to 27.5 minutes, which is what we found down here. So the two new songs would be T equals 34 minus 27.5, which will give me 6.5. Got it? Okay. Okay, so let's make all of these connections now. How many minutes M is Ron's original playlist? His original playlist is 27.5 minutes. How do we know? Because we added all the data on that plot. How many minutes T do the two new songs add to Ron's playlist? We know that it adds 6.5 minutes because his playlist was 34 minutes long. What are the two possible lengths for the new songs? Is more than one correct answer possible? Yes, because one song could be 3 minutes long, the other one could be 3.5 minutes long. But we could have 3.25 minutes. It could be. This one could also be 3.25 minutes. So yes, it's any combination of two songs that equals 6.5 minutes. How did the line plot help you solve the problem? Well, the line plot gave all the data sets. So I was able to add up all the data sets to find the total number of minutes, right? And so I could add all data sets, which is every song and its length. How did you use operations with fractions to solve the problem? So we added, all right, we added those fractions. You remember when we added the whole numbers? We can just add the fractions the same exactly. Okay, so let's think. Do we have any questions at all? Okay, let's look at number 6. And this one, you choose what you want to do, what you want to use. Okay, so let's look at this problem. Ronaldo collects 10 shells at the beach and weighs each of them. He uses the line plot below to display the data. So look at how it's labeled. See, shell weights, and the weighing is in ounces. So you have to say what this data shows, right? The measurement. So it goes from 9 to 12. What is the difference between the weights of the lightest and the heaviest shells Ronaldo collected? Show your work. So let's look at this data and see what is the lightest. So see right here is the lightest. So if I go from 9 to 10, how many data points do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that means I know between here there are 8 data points. So I know each one of these is 1/8. So this, where this is heading, I know that is 1/8. So that will be 9 and 1/8, which is why I write it right here. That's our lightest, right? What is our heaviest? Let's go all the way down to the end. So it says 11 3/4. So that's my heaviest. So I am going to subtract those two. Now there are a number of different ways that we can use to subtract this. We can find lowest common denominator. We can use equivalent fractions. So let's try using equivalent fractions for a minute. 11 3/4. If I were to take 3/4 and change that to an equivalent fraction where the denominator is 8, what do I get? I will get 11 6/8 minus 9 1/8. Do we understand how 3/4 is equal to 6/8 as an equivalent fraction? Because if I were to reduce this by 2, I'll do 2 into 6 is 3 and 2 into 8 is 4. See, I'll get the same thing. So it is an equivalent fraction. So now my denominators are the same. I can easily subtract that. So 11 minus 9 is equal to what? 2, 9, 10, 11, 2, and then 6 minus 1 is 5. So I get 2 5/8. That's our answer. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, what is the total weight of the shells Ronaldo collected that weigh less than 10.5 ounces? So now we have to think, we have to gather all the information that is less than 10.5. So 10.5, it's less than 10.5. So you have a one that weighs 10.5 right here. So which means we are going to add up all of these. So we know this one is 9 1/8 plus this is 9 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We know this is 5/8. And remember how I know that? Because each one of these is divided into 8s, right? Okay, and then this one is 10 1/4 plus 10 1/4 plus 10 1/4. See, because I have 2 x's. So let's try to do this. 1/4, if I were to do that as an equivalent fraction, what would 1/4 be as an equivalent fraction? It would be, from 1/4, it would be 2/8, right? So I'm going to replace this now with 2/8 because that's the equivalent. So let's add. 9 plus 9 is 18. 18 plus 10 is what? 28. Plus 10 is 38. So we have 38 plus 1/8, 5/8, that's 6/8, 7, 8/8, which is 1, plus 2/8. So let's add that up. So we'll get 39 and 2/8, or 39 1/4 ounces. That's the total. Okay. Do we have any questions on that? Okay, let's move on to the other one. What is the total weight of the shells Ronaldo collected the most often? Good question. So how do we know? So we look at this and we check, how many x's do we have on the same data plot that is the most? And I will say this one, because this one has 3 x's, because it said most often or most frequent, right? So it's right in between here. So I know that's 1/8, that's 11 1/8. And what is the total weight of those shells? So I have 11 1/8 plus 11 1/8 plus 11 1/8. That'll give me, what do you think it'll give me? Yep, because 11 times 3 is 33 plus 1/8, 2/8, 3/8. So that's your answer, 33 3/8 of an ounce. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Next time, see ya.